another important element in your circuit analysis are your nodes, branches, and loops. So when you are talking about nodes, branch is that they represent a single element such as a voltage source or a resistor. In other words, a branch represents any two-terminal element. So these are your branches. We have branch 1. So ayaw magsulat, no? So ka-capture natin siya. Yan. Okay. We have our branch 1, branch 2, branch 3, branch 4, branch 5, and branch 6. So, in this example, we have 4 branches of passive element and then 2 branches of active element. Take note that these branches can be rewritable into this. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have our branch 1, branch 2, branch 3, branch 4, and branch 5. So, huwag yung isipan to na mali lang to ng lagay. Okay? So, ito yung mga branch natin. Okay? Pwede kasi natin gulo-guluhin to. So, actually, pwede ko tong isulat ng ganito. So, pag hindi mo alam tumingin ng mga branches and nodes, so malilito ka lang. So, we have positive, negative. Okay? So, this is my voltage branch. Voltage, and then your R1. Kasi pwede ko itong isulat ng ganito eh. We have our R2, R3, R4, R. And then, yung current mo. Yung current branch natin. Napapunta siya dito. Okay? Yan. Pwede natin siyang isulat ng ganito. Basically. Okay? Okay, para mas maintindihan nyo, ilagay natin siya sa ito. Okay? Sketchbook. You sketch. Okay. In our first example, in our branch nodes and loops, so mapapansin mo na we have our voltage source, di ba? Tapos, meron tayong isang R1. And then, we have our R2. And then, we have our R3. And then, we have our R4. And a current source. So, mapapansin mo kasi, these two branches are connected in series. Pag side by side dyan, okay? Katulad mo, hinahawakan ko yung kamay mo, tapos yung kamay nating dalawa is nakahawak sa kamay ng isang tao. Therefore, yung kamay nating dalawa is nakasiris sa isa't isa. And then, yung kamay natin na nakahawak sa ibang tao is that nakaparallel siya. So, this circuit can be rewritable into this circuit. So, we have our positive, negative, R1, V1, and then we have our R1. Okay? And then we have our R2. Pwede ko ngayon i-write to ng ganito. Yan. May R3. May R4. May R5. And of course, may current. This can be rewritable into this. Rewritable yan. Bakit? So, mapapansin nyo mamaya, yung tinatawag nating node. These 3 are connected only in nodes. Let's say, your node B and C. And take note that they are in parallel with each other. Pag yung R1 mo naman is that nakakonect lang siya sa isang terminal, or let's say this will be your A, your R1 is connected with V1 at node A, but your V1 and your R1 is connected at B and C, which means this R1 and V1 are connected in series, which is they are in parallel with your node B and C. Okay, malilinawan kayo mamaya dyan. Or perhaps maguguluhan. So, ang pwede nyo gawin para malinawan is to read more problems. Okay? So, let's go back. We have a branch. So, these are the branches, yung mga terminals natin. We have our terminal 1, terminal 2, terminals of each elements. Okay? So, pag branch, ang tinatawag natin, it will be the terminals of any element. Okay? So, pag sinabi nating series, your branch of one element is connected directly to the other element, while the other terminal of your element is connected to other terminal of element. Pag sinabi naman natin siyang parallel connected, yung branch mo is your two terminals are connected to the terminal of the other branch. Yan. Mapapansin nyo, nakaparallel tong apat na branch na to. Yung tatlong passive branch and yung isang active branch. Which is, they are in parallel with the branches of your R1 and your R2. So, mapapansin mo na yung R1 and yung V1 mo, nakakonect siya ng side by side. Which means, they are in series. Ito. Yung isang branch yan, yung terminal ng branch ng R1 at yung terminal ng branch ng I2, ng V1, is connected. Okay? They are in what you call a series connected. Okay, next. Your node. Yung node is the point of connection between two or more branches. So, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, yung nodes mo. Always remember that your node is very needed in your analysis. Kasi yung node mo, so sinasabi nating point of connection between two or more branches. So, your node indicate a series connection between the passive element, and your node B and C indicates a parallel connection. So, as I have said, your node A is in series with your 5 ohms. This indicate a series connection. Kasi isa lang yung node na nagdikit sila. And your nodes B and C indicates a parallel connection between the combination of 5 ohm and 10 volts. Ito yung naging terminal ng dalawa. Because nakaseries silang dalawa, nakaseries to. And then itong dalawang to, pinarallel natin sa combination ng 2 ohm, 3 ohm, and 5 ohm. Bakit siya nakaparallel, sir? Kasi nga, itong dalawa na to, your B and C are the nodes connecting both of the terminal of your active source and your passive source, passive elements, which is your 2 and your 3 ohm. Okay? So, how about in this illustration? So, in this illustration, makikita mo na parehas lang sila dito. Okay? Ginawa ko lang siyang rectangular. So, mapapansin mo that your 5 ohm is in series with your 10 volts. So, take note, this is a symbol for a battery cell. So, we have 5 ohm is in series with 10 volts. And then, the terminals of these two are connected with your 2 ohms. Which means that your 2 ohms is in parallel with the series connection of your R1 and your 10 volts. And also, your R2 is in parallel with your R3 and in parallel with your active element, which is equal to your 2 ampere. Okay? So, pag loop naman yung sinasabi natin, it is any closed path formed in the circuit. So, dito sa circuit na to, ano yung mga loop natin? Ano mga loop natin, sir? So, this is our loops. So, ito, loop 1, loop 2, and loop 3. This is our loop. So, a loop is a form by starting at a node A, passing through a set of nodes, and returning to the starting node. And returning to the starting node without passing through any node more than once. So, a loop is said to be independent if it contains at least one branch which is not a part of any other independent loop. So, independent loops or paths result in independent sets of equation. So, this will be your loop 1. Pwede mo din gawing loop 2. Ito. Yan. Yan lang yun. Yan. Papunta sa labas. Okay. This is also another loop. Okay? I may also have a loop here. From R2 to my R3 or from my R2 to my 2 amperes. Pwede maging loop yan. Or pwede rin maging loop ang V1 to 5 ohms papunta sa 3 ohms. But take note, na kada loop yan, meron tayong tinatawag na equations. Equations that represent each other. Kasi nga, pag naglo-loop pa, hindi lang basta loop. Meron tayong mga current na pumapasok dito based on your laws. Basically, your Kirchoff's law, yan. Yung na-breakdown kasi natin yung mga currents nyo. So, remember na pag yung ito, you will have a loop opposing your 2 ampere, you will have I1 equal to negative 2 ampere in your equation later on. And then, pag pumasok sa negative volts, you will have negative 10 volts. Tama? For your KVL. Okay? So, later on, your knowledge about those small topics will be useful. So, in order to relate your number of branches, nodes, and independent loops, it will satisfy the fundamental theorem of your branch is equal to your loop plus the number of nodes minus 1. Okay. So, always remember, the 2 or more elements are in series if they exclusively share a single node. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, single node. Ito lang yung share nila. Yung node A. And 2 or more elements are in parallel if they are connected to the same nodes and consequently have the same voltage across them. Okay? So, pag nakaparallel yan, parallel connection, you should remember that V1 is equal to V2 is equal to V3 hanggang V4 yan. Your I total is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3. Pero pag nakaseries yan, your current is equal all throughout the series branches. Okay? So, okay na. Next. You have your Kirchhoff's laws. So, ano nga ba itong Kirchhoff's law? Yung Ohm's law kasi natin, yan yung current na, ayun yung law wherein you can use when it is directly answerable by V equals IR. How about if you would use your diagram? Yung Kirchhoff's law, it indicates the direction of your current and voltage. Okay? So, example is this diagram. So, take note that your Kirchhoff's law has two major laws by Gustav Robert Kirchhoff. Okay? You have our law 1. We have our law 1, which is what you call your Kirchhoff's current law, which states that the algebraic sum of a current entering a node is 0. Diba? Summation of IN is equal to 0. So, let's consider a circuit. So, pag sinabi ko meron akong circuit, let's say ito. Yan. Okay. This is my I total. So, let's say, I have a current, I total. Yan. This will be my I total. This is current entering to a node A. And then leaving your node A to node B. So, pag may mga current ka dyan, your direction will be up to you. Let's say this will be your I1 for your R1. I1. So, mag-i-indicate ako ng resistance. So, let's say this will be your I1 or your I2. Papunta siya sa I2. Your I1, papunta siya sa I1. And then, your I3, papunta siya sa I3. Okay. So, your Ohm's law states that the current or the algebraic sum entering and leaving the node is 0. So, this is our node A. This is our node A. A current entering your node A is your I2. Positive yan. And then, your currents leaving your node A are your I2. So, pag leaving yan, always take note na negative yan. I2 minus I1 minus your I3 because they are leaving the node. Which means they are equal to 0. So, therefore, getting the sum of all of these, so we will have I total plus negative I2 plus negative I1 plus negative I3 is equal to 0, which means that it is the summation of your I n from 0 to n, which is equal to 0. Okay? At n is equal to 1. So, makukuha mo yung current natin, which is equal to 0. Take note, paano natin kukunin yung I total, sir? Okay. From this equation alone, you can see that your I total is equal to, so transpose natin to dito, since 0 sila. You have I total is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3 plus IN equals, wala, equals IT. Okay, equals IT. Basically yan. Yan yung sinasabi natin Kirchoff's law. Okay, relating it into this figure, sasabihin mo, ito yung node A natin. Node A natin. So, ano yung mga pumapasok na current dito? So, just like our pumapasok na current sa node A natin dyan, your I total. So, in this case, yung mga pumapasok na current natin is your I1, papasok. I2, I4, papasok, positive. I3, papasok, positive. Ano yung mga lumalabas? Sila yung mga negative. You have our I5, negative I2. Yung dalawa lang, okay? So, therefore, I may say that your equation will be I1 plus I3 plus I4, which is equal to, wala to. Ita-transpose natin to sa right side. Okay? So, negative I1 magiging positive I2. Negative I2 magiging positive I2. Negative I5 magiging positive I5. Okay? This will be our equation, which is I1 plus I3 plus I4 is equal to I2 plus I5. So, according to your Kirchhoff's law, yung summation daw lahat ng na to is equal to 0. Kaya in-equal natin yan. Pag equal yung positive, yung pumasok at yung lumabas, which means your summation of IN is equal to 0. Okay? So, take note Sir, paano din yung direction ng current ko? Kung walang circuit. Sabihin natin, nagbigay ka ng circuit. Ito, positive, negative, V. Yan. And then, I have, let's say, R1, R2, R3. Sir, hindi ko alam yung direction. Sir, magbigay ka naman ng direction. Paano ko din isusolve yan? So, take note, kayo ang magbibigay ng direction. But, pag naglagay ka ng direction, wag mo nang papalitan. Because, your positive or negative signs of your current will indicate your direction. So, pag direction mo is pataas, direction mo is pa-right, direction mo is pa-left, so therefore, those will be your assumption. So, if you will get a current later on, so therefore, pag mali yung direction mo, magne-negative lang yan. Okay? So, therefore, it indicates that you should change your direction. Okay? Kaya lang yun. Next is your Kirchhoff's voltage law. So, your Kirchhoff's second law is based on the principle of conservation of energy. Nga pala, your first principle or your current KCL is based on the principle of what you call your conservation of charges. Okay? That's a fun fact. Tama ba? So, Kirchhoff's law of voltage. Yung Kirchhoff's law of voltage nyo naman is hindi siya sa isang node. It is basically on a loop. So, dito, gagawa ka ng loop. Sabi niya, Kirchhoff's law of voltage law states that the algebraic sum of all voltages around a closed path is 0. So, this is a closed path. Pwede ka rin gumawa ng open path kung gusto mo. But, I will have a KBL in a closed path in your clockwise direction. So, pag clockwise, ibig sabihin, sumusunod tayo sa pag-ikot ng mundo. Joke lang. Pag-ikot ng orasan. Okay? Pag clockwise, so dito tayo. From left to right. Ikot tayo. So, ano nga ba yung mga voltage natin? So, take note na pag resistor, maswerte ka kapatid kasi given yung sign convention ng resistor mo. Okay? So, we have, pero pag hindi given, so always follow na positive yan. Okay? So, since given yung resistor mo, we have, masok siya dito, we have positive V1. Negative V1. Kasi saan papasok yung arrow mo? Sa negative. Negative V1. Okay? And then, papasok to sa positive V2. And then, papasok to sa positive V3. And then, pumasok to sa negative V4. Panigurado ako na this is a load, which means na meron siyang positive and negative din. So, pag hindi siya given, gawin mo siyang positive. Pero in my example, given to na ito yung positive mo, ito yung negative mo. Hindi ko lang, nakat lang siya. So, we have negative V5. Okay? So, meron na tayong equations. Pero according to your law of voltage, it is equal to 0. So, pwede kong gawin, magta-transpose ako. We have our positive V2 plus positive V3, which is equal to, transpose natin yung V1, we have V1 plus V4 plus V5. Okay? This will be your equation. So, bakit puro equation yan? So, mag-antay kayo. Mamaya may given yan. Okay? So, those are just, tawag ito, introduction on your KVL and your KVL. Okay? Next. Nagkahang na. Ayan. Hop. Ito yung given natin. Positive, negative, V5. Okay? So, ito yung another example natin. So, pag nag-assume siya na, dito yung positive mo, at hindi yung negative mo. So, therefore, pwede kong isulat yan. Okay? Screen right. So, we have, papasok sa negative, pumasok siya sa positive V5. Okay, yan. And then, pumasok siya sa negative V5, negative V1. Ito. And then, yung loop mo papasok sa positive V2, so positive. And then, papasok sa positive V3, so positive. And then, pumasok sa negative V4 is equal to 0. Pag nag-loop kayo guys, wala kayong pakialam sa palabas. Unless you are using your electron flow. Pag gumagamit kayo ng conventional flow, ang pakialam nyo lang, ang pakialaman nyo lang is kung saan papasok yung arrow nyo. Di ba? Ganyan naman tayo, di ba? Kung saan lang papasok. Doon lang may pakialam, okay? So, negative. Pumasok sa negative, which is negative V1. Pumasok sa positive, which is positive V2. Pumasok sa positive, which is positive V3. And then, nung pumasok sa negative, which is positive negative V4. And then, pumasok sa negative at V5, which is positive V5. So, since your Kirchoff's voltage law express that M is the summation of Vm is 0, therefore, mag-equal siya sa 0. So, the best thing to do is to manipulate your equation wherein you have your positive sides, V3, V5, and V2, which is equal to your negative signs na itatranspose natin sa kabila wherein negative V1 magiging positive siya, negative V4 magiging positive siya. Okay? So, let's have our examples.